Hey guys, so here is a homework question coming out of chapter 13.1 with the factor by grouping. It's a really weird problem because you have to do a little bit of algebra before factor by grouping. So if I were to look at this problem just at first glance, I went to do factor by grouping. Step 1, I would group up the first terms. Step 2, I'd group up the second term. Well, when I look at the first term, 6uz and 88dq, well, 88 and 6 only have a 2 in common. So I would divide out my 2 and have 3uz plus 44dq. And then the second one, group those up. 48qz and 11du don't have anything in common, so I couldn't factor out anything but a 1. And then when I go to finish out my factor by grouping, my parentheses don't match, so I can't do anything with a repeat or a leftover. So here's where some of this algebra has to take place. So what we're going to do ahead of time is we want to rearrange the terms so that I can group them with similar things. So when you start this, if it's something that looks really weird in terms of it has multiple variables, multiple numbers, all I did was I said, well, what letters look like they have something in common? And so these first term and the last term both have a U, and these middle terms both have a Q. And so that's why I rearranged it to get this. And so I rearranged the the terms, so that I had 6u and 11du, and then I had the Q ones in the back. And that I'm just guessing to see, will this work? So I rearranged the terms to see if I can force it to factor, and I just put the things that have similar variables together. Now I'm going to finish out my normal factor by grouping. So group up the first two, group up the second two. So the first two, 6uz and 11du, they only have a u in common. 6 and 11 don't have anything in common, but they do have a u. And so 6uz, I take out the u, I'm left with 6z. 11du, take out the u, I'm left with 11d. I'm going to do the same thing with the second one. Now this one, they do have a number and a letter in common. So 48 and 88 both have a 6 in common. Sorry, an 8 in common. Leave me with a 6. And then QZ and DQ have a Q in common. So what I'm going to do is divide out 8Q. So I've got 48, divide by 8 is going to give me 6. QZ, take out the Q, is going to give me Z. The second one, the last one, but the second one in that parentheses, 88, divide out the 8 is going to give me 11. And then DQ, take out the Q, is going to leave me with D. Now the parentheses match. So now I can write down what's being repeated. 6Z plus 11D. And what is left over? U plus 8. U plus 8Q. And then that would be your final answer.